Hello and welcome to We Random episode 19. No cute, catchy little intros this time. We just want to wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of you. More after this.
Almost Qualified Productions. We're 3 beers in. Time for you to catch up.
Welcome to We Random, episode 19. I'm Brian. That's Christopher. Say hello to the people, Christopher.
Hello, people.
Welcome to your Christmas holiday week. We hope that you are all doing well. We hope that you are all doing safe. And we are going to bring you our fantastic Wheel of Doom today. We've got several topics for you. We'll try to keep it as positive and inclusive as possible, but there are no guarantees given what we have on the wheel. So, based on where we're at, I think we'll get started. Today we have some, like I said, fantastic topics, but we also have a very special draft or random rankings.
We do.
That has been requested by one of our loyal listeners and viewers. So I am looking forward to that. Any words for the people, Christopher, before we get going?
No, I think we should just hit it and go.
Let's do it.
All right, the wheel is a spinning. And we're starting off with Supermax.
Supermax. So, after months of agita and stress and frustration and worry and tampering, apparently, Giannis Antetokounmpo has signed his Supermax with the Milwaukee Bucks. He told the rest of the NBA to get bodied as he signed a $228 million Supermax extension. That totally has to be a soccer horn. I know the vuvuzela when I hear it. But this is the largest contract in NBA history, and he is signed for 5 years, and he does have an opt-out after year 4. So, Christopher, are you already worried about him leaving after year 4?
Well, I mean, I'm not a Bucks fan, so no, I'm not. But I think the fact that he signed this contract, I think Buck fans shouldn't be too worried about it. I think he's here, probably for the long haul. I mean, let's be honest. If they don't do anything to try to make a winner out of this team, then maybe he bolts, but at that point it's totally on the team, right? It's not on him at all. The fact that he signed this and committed to at least 4 years to help rebuild his team, I mean, he's done what he can do. Now it's up to the team to, show that they can actually do something with this team and make it a winner.
I would agree. I mean, and even in his words, he said, "This is my home. This is my city. I'm blessed to be able to be a part of the Milwaukee Bucks for the next 5 years. Let's make these years count. The show goes on. Let's get it." Also, he told the media in reflecting on his goals for the next 5 years, he said he wants to have kids and have a championship. So apparently he's getting busy on the court and in the sheets.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Wisconsin sports fans have to be ecstatic right now, right? With Aaron Rodgers and Christian Yelich and Giannis. I mean, even as not a Bucks or even really a basketball fan, that's super exciting. And I think everyone that's a fan of Wisconsin sports has to be super stoked for, the group of guys that we've got here that are really top of the heap in their sports. So that's a special thing because you don't get that very often in Wisconsin sports. This isn't a premier destination for a lot of people that want to show up. So the fact that you got the 3 of them here, that's super awesome.
I would agree, and especially given the fact that the Bucks drafted Giannis and he's kind of a homegrown product, so to speak, and they took a chance on him, so now he's taking a chance on the organization. And I really think it's going to be interesting in these next years to see how they add pieces around him and how they go for it. I mean, I feel like what the Bucks are doing is an actual real attempt at taking as many bites of the apple as they can, as to where the Brewers are okay, we're going to go to Dollar General and get an apple and take as many bites of this fake apple that you can give your teacher as possible.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. And hopefully they do some stuff. Like I said, I don't really follow the NBA anymore. Tim Duncan disappeared and so did I. But hopefully they're able to put some stuff together and not waste this opportunity.
I would agree. And I think one of the things about this, and I know we're probably going to move on from it soon, is just having a presence like Giannis in Milwaukee. I feel like it does so much for the city in general, right? Because he brings notoriety to the city, he brings notoriety to the team. People are going to spend money to see him, and people are going to want when we can actually go to sporting events again.
Right.
But it's and that's why they built the Deer District. Honestly, like, he is one of the few reasons, I'm guessing, that the Deer District got built. Because if we
Yeah.
still had like Darvin Ham and all these kind of like mid-level dudes, like, they're not building the Deer District for, I don't even know. I don't want to just rail off some dude from like 2006, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, no, he's a big reason why that happened. And I mean, I think everybody knows that, or at least they should know that. So yeah, I mean, they have to. I look at the fact that these a lot of the players that have been kind of top of their sport and have re-upped and wanted to stay local, like, they're legends. Like, even Ryan Braun, like, I remember to this day being at Miller Park the day after the first home game after he signed his extension. And it's like, you could have gone anywhere. You could have easily taken a hell of a lot more money and gone to New York or LA or any one of these teams, but you stayed here. That you're our guy, and I think that really helped him, at least in my mind personally. It did when he went through the whole steroid issue, right? And that's the thing is, like, it's not like New York City where New York teams. First of all, they've got 78 different teams in all these different sports, and every one of them has 2 or 3 huge players on it. You don't have to share that spotlight. Like, this is, for half the year, this is your city, right? This is your city, and you own that, and it's a super special thing. And I think it's something that I think he looks at it that way. I think he likes the city. I think he likes the way that he's treated in the city, and this is an opportunity for him to kind of really cement his legacy as one of the legends of Wisconsin sports, and in Milwaukee in particular.
I would definitely agree. So I'm excited. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Basketball is probably my third or fourth passion sport, right? Like, I'm currently mad at indoor soccer because my team's not playing and they're loaning all of my teams out, or all of my players out, to other teams, and I'm just like, you know what? This sucks. But like, I'm really excited for Giannis. I'm excited for this Bucks season, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do. And I'm glad that he's going to be here for the next 5 years.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
what do you say we move on to our next topics, which probably won't be as exciting or happy as the Supermax?
Yeah, we have a lot of not super happy stuff onto here, but this is another sports topic. This is the Cleveland baseball team.
So the Cleveland baseball team has made a decision recently. The team, soon to be formerly known as the Cleveland Indians, announced that after 2021, they will be retiring the name Indians. The organization said that their goal is to move forward to determine a new name that will better unify their community and build on the legacy for a new generation. The Cleveland management has been listening, learning, and partnering with local civic leaders, including those in the Native American community, to deepen their support of underrepresented groups and make a meaningful, positive impact in the community. So, Christopher, what are your thoughts about the trends that we're seeing? For example, the Washington football team removing their nickname, and now the Indians are following suit. What are your thoughts on this kind of thing?
I think it's great. I think it's long overdue. I think this should have happened years and years ago. And I think the Redskins deserve a lot of, well, they used to be Redskins, deserve a lot of credit for taking that first step. Obviously, they've got a hell of a lot of bigger issues to deal with than just the team mascot and team name. But I think they deserve a lot of credit for taking that step first. And I think that puts pressure on the Cleveland soon to not be Indians and other teams that have, those types of mascots and those types of names to really look at themselves and say, is this a name that really represents who we are? Is this derogatory? Is this something that we need to change? So I think it's great. I think it's excellent. And I know that there's probably some purists out there that, and if I was a Cleveland fan, I would probably feel a little bit weird about the whole thing. But I also think that it's time for us to change, and it's time for us to grow and evolve past these derogatory team names, and we have to stop sitting on our laurels and sitting back and resting on, history and legacy and all of that garbage. No, if it's stupid, we need to move on. It's just that simple. So I think it's great.
And I mean, interestingly enough, like one of the first teams to do this was Marquette University, where they used to be the Warriors, and then they moved into being the Golden Eagles, and then they were the Gold for a minute, and then I think they're back to Golden Eagles. I don't know. But like we also have these teams like the Atlanta Braves and the Kansas City Chiefs, where they actually use those names, but they also incorporate different chants and like
Yeah.
hand gestures that people, often find offensive. So I think in some ways it's good as the ball rolls. Like hopefully there will be more of that societal pressure too for those individuals to look at their actions, because if no one changes, no one has the incentive to change, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I think there's definitely some other really big ones, and I think the fact that the tomahawk chop thing that they do, and the mock Native American kind of chant that they do, I think they absolutely are things that need to be addressed, and I think those teams need to go through this whole process as well. We'll see. Now there's more than just one team, and I think for me at least, just from the outside looking in, the fact that there's so much garbage going on with that Washington football team, with the front office and behind the scenes, I think it could lessen the impact of them changing, because you could look at it and say, oh, well, they're just trying to change their identity because they're a bunch of shitbags. I don't know that people are saying that, but I think you could say that. But now you move to the Cleveland team, which, as far as I know, doesn't have any of that. And it's a team that's been very successful of late, so that they have that going for them as well. So I think that the fact that you've got a team that, like, you could look at the Washington football team and say they didn't have anything to lose. Like they need to refresh their image. You can't say that with the Cleveland team. Like the Cleveland soon to not be Indians team, they've kind of have everything going for them at this point. So I think that adds a different kind of pressure to like the Braves and the Chiefs and some of those other teams.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of people said, well, we kind of have seen this coming because over recent years, Cleveland has moved away from more of those like graphic arts piece, and they
Chief
started
Wahoo
using
or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
They just started using the C and things like that. So, I mean, again, progress is progress, right? Just because something was cool in like 1940 doesn't mean that it has to be cool now.
That's true. And just think that in like 20 years, when kids watch the greatest baseball movie of all time, they're not going to realize that this at once was a real Major League Baseball team. They're going to think, oh, they just made up some fake team.
That, or they're going to have to like CGI it where they like edit it all out.
Yeah, well, then they can CGI County Stadium out of it. So let's not go there. No, we can keep it the way it is.
It'll be like the Cleveland, whatever their name is.
Right, the bad people.
Right.
All right, I'm spinning, B.
Let's do it. It's like when they go back to old movies and they like dub out words that people aren't supposed to say.
Right.
Anymore. All right.
So this is, I think this is Brian's favorite topic right here. I hope his wife's watching.
It is not my favorite topic. I put this on here just for our friend Cooper. So,
who I don't think is watching, but that's okay.
And I also put it on here for you because I feel like in some ways this is falling a little bit into like the InfoSec, info privacy
yeah, for sure.
realm. So Pornhub has removed a majority of its content from their library this week. Millions of explicit videos uploaded from unverified users as part of a series of changes following allegations that the site had been allowing videos of child abuse and non-consensual sexual behavior. In a blog, the website said that it had enacted the most comprehensive safeguards in user-generated platform history, including barring unverified uploaders from adding new content, eliminating the ability to download videos, and has removed all previously uploaded content that was not created by Pornhub's verified content providers or members of its adult performers network. Now, as part of the policy to ban unverified uploaders, Pornhub says they have suspended all previously uploaded content that wasn't created, and they are saying that every piece of content now is verified, a requirement that platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat have yet to institute. Now, do you want to know why Pornhub did this?
I can imagine that it probably has something to do with, cashola.
Oh, yeah. So A series of events happened recently where there was a New York Times opinion section that followed the lives of child sexual abuse victims whose videos were uploaded to Pornhub. And then MasterCard and Visa began an internal investigation of unlawful material on Pornhub. After which, MasterCard and Visa both said they would drop Pornhub as a site due to these allegations.
Bingo.
That got everybody up into a tussle because a lot of the professionals on there are using paid content to get people to pay for their videos. And if they can't process credit card payments, that's a whole lot of problem.
Yep. Yeah. I think it, first of all, it just kind of, it shines a big spotlight onto some of the issues that we have going on in the world as a whole, right? And when it comes down to these big companies, and I don't know how big Pornhub is. I'm sure they're huge. I know that in the online world they're huge. I'm sure they make a shit ton of money. Nothing is going to get people's attention as much as money. Like, that's what these people care about. That's all they care about. Like, you can picket, you can have rallies, you can start a trending hashtag. Like, they don't give a shit about any of it until money starts to get impacted. So as soon as Visa and MasterCard, who are clearly the two largest credit card companies in the entire world, as soon as they jump on board and like, we're not going to do business with you anymore, all of a sudden people, I guarantee, were freaking the fuck out at wherever Pornhub's business offices are. They probably have sticky floors. You don't want to go there. So I think that first of all, that's one big issue, right? The other side of it is they knew they had this issue, right? Like, if they could very quickly make this change and remove all these videos, they already knew that they were there, right? They knew that this was an issue. They're getting videos from unverified people. There's all sorts of videos on there that I'm certain are, hey, we recorded me and my ex-girlfriend, and now she's being a person I don't like, so I'm just going to upload that video and let people do it and whatever. I guarantee that stuff's out there. So yeah, this whole thing was a mess, and it's kind of sickening. Not even kind of, it's very sickening that it comes down to, we're going to take your money away before anybody does a goddamn thing. It's not about what the right thing is to do. It's all about money, and fucking, that just drives me nuts.
Well, and I was just thinking, isn't this kind of an interesting example of like the Section 230 thing, where like they knew they had these videos, but they know that the people who uploaded them are technically the ones who are responsible.
Yeah.
So they probably just went,
That's exactly
until MasterCard and Visa were like, hey, no cash for you. And they said, wait, no, we need your cash. Okay, we can get rid of them, we promise.
You know what? If they came up with, if we passed some stupid law that said, the company, if they revoke 230, or if they say that as a company, you're responsible for, what gets posted there, or as a company, if we find that there is any evidence of something leading to a crime, an older person soliciting a younger person, or someone selling a gun that gets used in a crime, whatever the case may be, and they went to Facebook and they said, hey, this is a change. You think Facebook isn't all of a sudden going to do a 180 and completely reform their entire platform? You're damn right they will, because it attacks their bottom line. That's all they care about. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. That's why they do the bullshit that they do with all this stuff. But as soon as you start to hit that bottom line, now all of a sudden it matters. And it's bullshit. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the world we live in.
It's very true. So in any case, now, Cooper, I'm sorry, there's not as many videos for you to watch.
Nah, I'm sure he'll make do somehow. I'm spinning, B.
Spin it.
We're moving on. Cracking the signal. What's this one all about?
This one is one that is just a little bit strange, so I'll kind of give you the short version, and then you can
run my goddamn mouth. Yeah.
Sure, do that. Let's call it that. So there is a company, and I have to find the name of this company. There we are. So there's an Israeli phone hacking firm called Sleigh. It claims that it can now break into Signal, which is an encrypted app considered safe from external snooping. So Sleigh has a lot of phone hacking technology, apparently, and it is intended for law enforcement agencies and law enforcement purposes across the world. But there are a lot of critics who have said that the company just randomly sells its stuff to countries with poor human rights records.
Yep.
So apparently they are, again, about that cash. There's a lot of there's a Mr. Elliott stuff going on, if you wouldn't mind the drop here. Zeke Elliott Feed Me of the Week. There's just a lot of people who want money, apparently, and they just like feed it out. So apparently Celebrite is saying, hey, we can crack Signal. Do you want to buy this stuff from us? We can give it to you, and then you can get into other people's messages.
Right.
What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I got one or two. So Celebrate, yes, it's an Israeli firm that sells these machines that allow law enforcement to break into a phone, essentially, and access stuff on a phone. Really what their goal is to bypass end-to-end encryption, which is what Signal does. For anyone who knows me personally, I probably sent you the link to sign up for Signal so I can message you that way, because it's secure, end-to-end encrypted. Think about WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted. Not as safe as Signal. Signal is really kind of the cream of the crop. So part of the reason for putting this this story on here is to tell everybody who may be watching, you should totally download Signal, 100%. The thing is that anytime you're dealing with end-to-end encryption, the conversation inevitably leads to this is used by criminals. In fact, I think this article, or at least another one that I read, specifically that's how they announced this. We found a way to access this information. This is an end-to-end encrypted application, and people are using this to commit crimes, and that's why we're helping law enforcement. Bullshit. Sometimes it's people like me who I'm not doing a goddamn thing that's illegal or shouldn't be done. I just don't want people to know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's my private conversation. Nobody else needs to know what the fuck I'm doing. When Brian and I are sharing conversations, a lot of times it's through Signal. Nobody needs to know what we're talking about. Nobody needs to know that. So they play that card, and then inevitably they turn that into pedophilia and child sex trafficking and child porn, because they know that anytime you mention those topics, people's eyes get really big and they go, do whatever you have to. We have to stop that. It's bullshit marketing is what it is. But here's the kicker. Celebrate didn't really find a way to crack into Signal. What they found was if they have an Android phone and the Android phone is unlocked, like they physically have the phone and the phone is unlocked, then their tool will be able to access the messages. Well, here's a secret for you, dumbasses. If I have an Android phone and it doesn't belong to me, and that Android phone is unlocked, well, guess what I can do? I can click the fucking Signal app and it'll open up and I can read the fucking messages. Like, give me a fucking break. Like, they didn't do anything. On top of that, and this is a really important thing to keep in mind, is all of this is really predicated on them having physical control of your device and physical access to get into the device. And this is going a little bit long, and if the FBI is watching, they'll probably hate me for saying this, but I use biometrics on my phone. I use Face ID to open it up. I think a lot of people use a Face ID or a Touch ID. Well, here's the thing to know is that law enforcement can force you to unlock your phone via those methods. So if I get arrested for whatever reason and they're saying, hey, we think we need to access your phone, they can hold the damn thing up to my face and make it unlock so they have access to my phone. At this point, what they cannot do is force me to give them a passcode. So here is your hot tip of the week, which maybe that should be a drop one of these times. Hot tip of the week is make sure if you're using biometrics, by all means do that. It's completely safe at this point. But make sure that you also have a very good passcode. And what I mean is, don't just use 1234 or any other four-digit number, four-digit number. If you can, put in a legitimate long password. And yes, that means it's going to be a pain in the ass every time you have to type it in, but you don't have to type it in all that often if you're using biometrics. And on top of that, make sure you're aware of the way that you can force your phone to use that passcode instead of the biometrics, just in case you run into some stupid thing. Like, I am probably never ever in my life going to have to use this. Like, if I had to put my phone through a scanner at the airport or something, maybe I'll do it just to be on the safe side. I'm not getting arrested for anything, but if I should ever run into that situation. So here's the two different ways to do it. So on iOS, if you hold down power and one of the volume keys for 2 seconds, it'll go to that shutdown screen. Just cancel out of it. It will require your passcode to get back into your phone. And for Android, they don't care about security quite as much. In order to use it on Android, you have to go into your settings. There's a setting in there, and I didn't write down where the setting was. I think it's in security or something like that. You have to turn on what's called lockdown. Once lockdown is turned on, then if you hold your power button like you're shutting off your phone, it'll bring up a menu that's like turn off or sleep or whatever. And then that lockdown will be in there and you can press that lockdown. So it's a little bit more steps for Android. But again, I've spouted about this a lot, but here's what it comes down to. Signal is still 100% safe. You should 100% use Signal if you care about your privacy at all. And make sure you're protecting yourself. Again, I'm never going to have to use that, but I know that because if for some reason it should arise, I've got that. And there's a lot of shady shit happening in law enforcement. And here's one extra thing that'll really make you very excited about this. This isn't just being used by law enforcement. In fact, the Los Angeles School District purchased one of these machines. And I think there were 6 or 7 different districts in Texas that purchased these machines. In Los Angeles alone, 60,000 students are in that school district. That's 60,000 students whose privacy is at risk because they can access stuff. This is just unconscionable. There's no reason that they should. I mean, my niece is 15 years old. I sure as shit don't want anyone looking at her phone. Now, she shouldn't be doing anything there that she shouldn't be doing. Let's be honest. That's a different story. But nobody needs access to that. Her mother, sure. Like that makes sense. But no school district needs to have any access to that, but they do, and so that's something to protect yourself on. I talked way too long about that. As you can tell, I'm very, very passionate about this.
That was fun. I was just debating what happens when I want to find out my elf name, and my elf name requires
oh my god,
the last 2 digits of my phone number, and like my month of birth, and like the last street that I lived on.
Yes, do not take any of those stupid Facebook quizzes. Do not respond to the what is my bad elf name. You don't do any of that stuff. They're just collecting information on you. Don't do that.
Yep. It's funny because now I've gotten to the point where I troll people with that, where like there was something on Twitter like 2 weeks ago where it's like, post a picture that dates you. And then I posted a picture and some guy was like, am I supposed to be posting a picture of my age? And I was like, I don't fucking know. I don't do that. They're just looking for your data at that point.
Right. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
All right, let's spin the wheel and see what we get.
All right. Maybe something that I don't talk about for 18 minutes straight.
Hopefully none of the election topics come up.
Well, this is kind of election related. Herd immunity.
All right. So there was an article that I saw where a Trump appointee repeatedly urged top health officials to adopt a herd immunity approach to COVID-19 and allow millions of Americans to be infected by the virus. This is according to internal emails obtained by a House watchdog and shared with the website Politico. So this individual, who is Paul Alexander, wrote, "There is no other way. We need to establish herd, and it only comes about allowing the non-high-risk groups expose themselves to the virus, period." He sent this email on July 4th to his boss, Health and Human Services Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs Michael Caputo, and six other senior officials. So you're going to play that, 6 more times?
I kind of want to play it 6 more times, yeah.
Do it.
They fucking suck. They fucking suck. They fucking suck. They fucking suck. They fucking suck.
All right. So this individual continued: infants, kids, teens, young people, young adults, middle-aged with no conditions. Those all have zero to little risk, so we use them to develop herd. We want them infected, he wrote. He also argued that colleges should stay open to allow COVID-19 infections to spread, lamenting a July 27th email saying that we essentially took off the battlefield the most potent weapon we had: younger, healthy people. So this is in contradiction to where senior Trump officials have repeatedly denied that herd immunity was a strategy for the administration. So what are your thoughts about this, Christopher?
Let me start with, they fucking suck. Yeah, so I think we have to take a step back, first of all, because we don't know for sure that these comments really influence what Trump and them did, right? I'm sure it did, but we don't know. There's not a smoking gun on that right now. But I mean, it's not a surprise, right? Like, one of two things happen. Either Trump and his whole group are the most incompetent people to ever step foot on this planet, which is 100% possible, or they specifically and purposely wanted this to infect a whole bunch of people. So I would like to think that as much of an asshole as this guy is, his goal wasn't to kill a bunch of people. I hope that that's not the case. So I would think that either they are just completely inept or they were going with this herd immunity thought, which, you know, they mentioned it on a couple of different times. And the one thing that I will say, there's not a lot of things that I think that this guy is good at. But one thing that he is really exceptional at is he knows his base and he knows that how to manipulate people that are easily manipulated. Like, not everybody falls into it, but those who are easily manipulated, he knows how to manipulate them. And his game, since he first started to run for office, was let me throw stuff out there. I'm just going to throw all the, throw the shit against the wall or whatever that saying is, right? Just throw stuff out there, and then he waits to see what people say. And if they don't buy into it, then he backtracks. Either I didn't mean it that way, I was being sarcastic, you reported it wrong, whatever, right? And he attacked the press the entire time, so that gave him the ability to say, well, it's their angle, they're doing it wrong, whatever. They mentioned this herd immunity thing a lot. Like, he said this in interviews. And what very well could, and this is complete speculation, but what very well could have happened is, behind the scenes, this is our thought, this is what we want to do. And we could be honest about that, but let's just throw some little morsels out there and see how people react. And when people don't react very well, then they just kind of dial that back. And then they just kind of push it in different angles where the end is still the same. We're still going to try to get as many people infected as we possibly can, but let's just sell it for different things. We need to protect the economy. We need to protect small business. We need to do blah, 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 right? So it doesn't surprise me. This doesn't surprise me at all. It makes me sick to my stomach. I still hold out, as ridiculous as it sounds, that like, should there be charges here for how inept they handled this? Like, there's hundreds of thousands of people that have died, and at minimum tens of thousands of them shouldn't have. Probably hundreds of thousands of them shouldn't have, because of how bungled this whole thing is. So I don't know. I could go in 10,000 different directions, but I'm already monologuing again. So what do you think, B?
Well, I think it's interesting, right? Like, there's a Representative Jim Clyburn who said, and he's a chair of the coronavirus subcommittee. He said, as the virus spread throughout the country, these officials callously wrote, "Who cares?" and said, "We want them infected." They purposely and privately admitted they knew that the president's policies would cause a rise in cases, and they plotted to blame the spread of the virus on career scientists. And these are the exact things that we saw, right?
Yeah.
We blamed the scientists,
CDC.
we blamed the CDC, we blamed regulations, we blamed testing, we blamed all of these things. But, and I'm not saying that there's an easier answer, right? But it's kind of, I think that there's a big piece of this in truthfulness, because the truth was never really told here. And we kept pushing the sticks, right? Because it's like, oh, well, remember when they told you not to wear masks? That's why we're doing this, because they lied to you.
Right.
But at the same time, everybody was told, oh, no, this isn't going to be that bad. You need to keep doing what you're going to do. You need to keep going to work. You need to keep going to school. You need to keep going here. Again, it like you said, it's kind of couching their true strategy behind masquerading, essentially. Basically, they're, in some ways, like, these emails are saying the quiet part out loud, which is, we want these people infected. We know this is what we believe about the science. Now, whether that's true or not true or whatever, this is what they believe, and this is what they've acted on.
Yeah, and a little firecracker in the chat said, why wouldn't they have changed their strategy when deaths started piling up, though? And I think the simple answer to that is, they don't fucking care. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about Brian. And that one pisses me off even more. Like, they don't give a shit about us. And not everybody is this way, but you'll find that a lot of people, rich people, politicians who are basically rich people, business that we already talked about, they don't give a shit. They really don't care. They care about themselves, and that's about it. And they care about their pocketbook, like we talked about earlier. So I think they just flat out don't care, and they're still stuck on the notion that we need to We need to get people sick so that we're not getting people sick anymore. And honestly, I still say to this day that the big driver behind a lot of what they did was the reelection. Trump wanted to get reelected, and so he was doing everything possible to get reelected. I don't know that he really gave a damn how we handled it as long as he got reelected. And I don't know, it's just, the whole thing is just a pain in the ass. Like what this does to me is, outside of negligence and another big word that's slipping my mind right now, incompetence, that's the word. This also adds malfeasance, which is, I think, is a word, and I think that means what I think it means. It adds purpose, right? It adds intention. So it goes beyond just being complete fucking idiots, and it goes to them being complete assholes as well. That's language that I know.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, and I'll wrap it on this so we can spin, is that when we're looking at this, I don't want to say, oh, this was Trump's plan, because this is one guy who sent these emails, right? Like, we don't have any, like you said, we don't have any smoking guns or anything like that in anybody else. But the thing that makes me go, is that when this dude sends these emails, it's not like he sent one email. He sent multiple emails. Nobody sat this man down and said, look, you need to stop it, because there's a thing where people can request your emails and then they can get them.
Well, thankfully, these people are too stupid to use Signal. That's all I'm saying.
They just got to call Celebrate, right?
Yeah, fuck Celebrate. I'm spinning it.
All right.
Naughty words. So this fits in with where we're at.
All right. So we are now moving down the street to talk about naughty words about the allies of our friend Bad Person.
Bad Person.
So now it also has come out that one of President-elect Joe Biden's top advisors has had some choice adjectives to describe Republicans. So in an interview with an activist for Glamour, Biden's incoming Deputy Chief of Staff and former campaign manager Jen O'Malley Dillon discussed compromise and how it played a big role in Biden's victory. She said that Biden's sense of unity that he called for helped him secure the Democratic nomination, and said that that's not to say that politicians on the other side of the aisle are not a bunch of, and if you have any kids listening, please plug their ears. She called them a bunch of fuckers.
The language.
You know, during Biden's run, he was able to connect with people over a sense of unity, and he was really trying to bring everybody together. So a lot of people were upset with these comments, because she also made comments about Mitch McConnell, calling him terrible. And people were like, well, how can you campaign on this, but then you're saying that? And a lot of those people who were saying that forgot that like 6 months ago, they were wearing t-shirts that said, fuck your feelings. So
that's fair.
I mean, the hard part about this, right, is there's been a lot of pushing of the envelope. Even Mr. Trump has used the word bullshit several times when it comes to his impeachment hearing. Now, again, this is a situation for me where two wrongs don't necessarily make a right. And I think this goes to saying the quiet part out loud. Because, and what I mean, for those of you who don't know what that means, is sometimes you think something in your head and it's only meant to stay in your head. But sometimes we say the quiet part out loud. So sometimes you might look at an article and be like, this motherfucker. But you don't say this motherfucker out loud. You just think it in your head.
I mean, so I say it out loud.
It's true. You really do. But this individual, she has said the quiet part out loud, and people have been offended by that. But at the same time, there's a lot of people on the other side of the aisle who've been saying the quiet part out loud for months, calling people snowflakes and, you know, the fuck your feelings thing. And like, again, two wrongs don't make a right. But what do you do in this situation, Christopher?
I agree with her. They're a bunch of fuckers. It's funny this came up because, you know, you and I had a conversation earlier this week about, you know, how you address certain people and what the appropriate way to do that is. Like, for those who know me or who watch my podcast or watch our podcast or watch me on stream, like, I am liberal with the 4-letter words, because I have a stance that I don't think the words, like, I don't think there's such a thing as a bad word. I think words are words, and they're just used to describe people. And yeah, I know that some people get offended by it, but some people are fucking snowflakes, right? So make me an asshole. So I think when I read this, so Marco Rubio made a tweet about this, and was really driving into what she had said. And honestly, when I looked at what he said, I think his objection was less with the word fuckers and more on what she was saying and the way that she was kind of going after some of the Republicans. I think he just focused in on that word because he knows that people get riled up about it. It's just a fucking word. And you know what? We've seen people on both sides of the aisle say a whole lot worse things publicly, and I'm sure they've said a whole lot worse things privately. So I'm not terribly concerned about it. Big goddamn deal, right? She said they were fuckers. She's probably right. They probably are fuckers. And let's move on with our lives. I don't see why it's that big of a deal. What I will want to dive into a little bit more, though, which I think is interesting, is, again, that point of two wrongs don't make a right. How do you handle that situation, right? Because my initial reaction is, you know, look at what these fuckers are doing. Like, we just got done talking about how these fuckers on the right, you know, want to infect a bunch of people and hundreds of thousands of people are dead, right? Those are motherfuckers right there. But should we address them that way? Should we not address them that way? Like, they're going to say things and do things that are horrible, but should we not do the same thing? Do we rise above that? If we rise above that, does that then put us at a deficit? Are we not getting our message across because they're not hearing that? I don't know. I think there's a lot of layers to that I don't know if we want to dive into that or not, but that's kind of where my mind goes.
No, I agree. There are a lot of layers to it because, and one of the things that I always say, obviously, I work in an interesting field where I tell people you don't have to like someone to be able to work with them. You don't have to appreciate someone to be able to learn from them, right? Like, in some ways, this is kind of where we're at in the political spectrum. Like, you might look across the aisle and be like, that motherfucker. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, to get something done to benefit everyone, you might need to work with them. So, does it hurt your chances of getting someone done if you go up to someone and insult them? Probably. But at the end of the day, you have to be willing to step forward and they have to be willing to step forward. And right now, we're kind of at a point where it seems like on both sides, there's a lot of people who aren't willing to step forward. And I think that's the big problem.
Yeah, I think where, and I'm making this very personal because I had a conversation with a friend of mine last weekend, kind of a conversation. And he had some feedback on me based on how this podcast goes and my stream goes and that kind of stuff. So I'm taking this a little bit personal and making it, that's kind of the angle that I'm looking at this from. But part of where my struggle is, and this is me just being vulnerable live on stream, is I see a lot, and this is probably to some degree my biased point of view, but I see a lot more negativity coming from the right, a lot more vitriol, a lot more anger, a lot more hatred. I see a lot less of that from the left. Now, there's some extremes into there, but I think even outside the extremes, I see a lot more of that from the right than the left. And I think that when the left doesn't, or if I don't respond in that way, then I wonder if the message that I'll say, are trying to share is not being given the importance that it should be, if it's not being taken seriously, if it's just kind of brushed over because, oh, look, they can't even really respond, you know? I think that's part of it. The other part of it, honestly, is just that there's an immediate gut reaction that, you know what, you called me an asshole, well, I'm going to call you a motherfucking asshole, and blah, 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 and that's obviously not the best way to go. But anyway, I'm just throwing kind of some random thoughts I have out there in the inner sphere, whatever.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I think a lot of that assumes that people are good people. And I guess, it's one of those things where we're making the assumption, oh, like if I come back in that assertive way, that other person's going to step back and go, oh, maybe I was wrong. But a lot of times people double down on being what, Christopher? A fucker.
Oh, yeah, they're fuckers. That's right.
So, that's the problem here, is that people have gotten to this point where they just double down no matter what, and it's kind of like a no-win situation.
That's true. Yeah, it's something that I know I personally again, just making this a personal thing. I personally am spending a lot of time lately kind of thinking about and working through on my own, and occasionally reaching out to people and getting their thoughts on it. So it wasn't a personal topic, but I've kind of made it a personal topic based on some current things. And I think it's something I think we all need to think about, because it's very, very easy to react in anger and to say, you know what, you look at the hatred this person's sharing on me, or sharing towards me. Yes, I want to react just kind of as a defense mechanism, as a, you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you, or I need to come back twice as hard, an eye for an eye, whatever that is. And that may not be the best way to do it. I don't know. But I think that's enough of that.
Yep.
We're going to spin again?
Yeah, let's see if we can squeeze one more in here.
All right. We're going to squeeze in.
Are you throwing the challenge flag?
I don't think so, but I'm really glad this one came up. The Negro Leagues saw some pretty significant and important changes this last week.
So,
maybe before we dive too far into it, what are the Negro Leagues?
So, I don't have that definition, but let me.
I can spitball it. So,
do it.
For those who, the Negro Leagues is the name that was given to the all-black baseball league back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, I think. Something like that, maybe 60s, because there was segregation. The black players were not allowed to play with the white players, and so the black players had their own league. It certainly wasn't as well structured as what the Major League Baseball was, but they had their whole dealio going. Honestly, some of the best players that have ever played baseball played in the Negro Leagues, but it's always been looked at as a separate kind of league. So the players were starting with Jackie Robinson back in the 50s, and I should know that date off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was in the 50s. Then there was some integration that started to happen, but there's a lot of stuff that happened in the Negro Leagues that, unless you really follow baseball, like, you don't really have any idea of that, and that kind of leads into what had changed this week.
Got you. So our good old friend Rob Manfred came out of his office for a moment. He stopped trying to sabotage the fucking game of baseball. And he decided that it is now time to correct a long-time oversight in the game's history by elevating the Negro Leagues. The Negro Leagues consisted of 7 different leagues, and MLB will include records from all of those circuits between 1920 and 1948. The Negro Leagues started to dissolve 1 year after Jackie Robinson became MLB's first black player in 1947.
Oh, 47, I was way off.
So an initial decision was made in 1969 when the Special Committee on Baseball Records identified 6 official major leagues and did not include the Negro Leagues in that definition. So now MLB is saying that the committee's omission of the Negro Leagues is an error that demands a new view, basically. So MLB is going to work with the Elias Sports Bureau to review Negro League statistics and records and figure out how to incorporate those into the Major League history. There's not a standard method of record keeping for the Negro Leagues, but there are a lot of box scores that can be used to stitch together statistics. So some of the things that could change. For example, Willie Mays could be credited with 16 hits from his 1948 season with the Alabama Black Barons. Monte Irvin, who was a player who had a career average of 293, it could move to 304 if his numbers listed for his Negro League seasons are accurate. And Satchel Paige, who currently only has 28 Major League wins, could add at leaast 146 Negro League wins to his total. So there's a lot of things that could change. One of the things that was interesting is they were talking about, could any of the home run records be challenged or things like that, but they don't necessarily think so, just because some of the record keeping stuff isn't as clean. But it definitely is an opportunity for MLB to kind of get their arms around and embrace more of the black culture pieces of baseball.
Yeah, I think this was amazing, and I could definitely see how some Puritans of the sport won't like some of this. Like, I'm a really big numbers guy, and then this is an interesting twist, but like, some of those numbers in baseball history are just sacred in my mind, and a lot of that went out the door with a lot of the steroid stuff, right? With home runs, like 61 was a magical number, 755 was a magical number, those being the most home runs in a season, most home runs in a career. They've both been obliterated by steroids, but those are like magic numbers. 406 which is what Ted Williams hit back in, I think I got it right here, 1941. The last time anybody hit 400 for a season. That's a magic number, and that would actually go away because there was somebody in the Negro Leagues who hit...
It's like 440 or
440,
something.
and there's another one hitting 441. So it's very possible Ted Williams won't be the highest on there. So that's an interesting twist, right? So all of a sudden, all these different records are going to show up. The one thing that they did call out in the article that I was reading is that some of the cumulative stats probably won't get too impacted because the Negro Leagues generally played like a 60 or 70 game season. So nobody's hitting 70 home runs in a 70 game season, although Josh Gibson probably could come close. So those types of records probably aren't going away, but I think this is great. I think it's amazing. Also, you know, for those who have that kind of, well, the competition wasn't the same, et cetera, et cetera. Well, look at the different ways that baseball has changed, right? Like the all-time career batting average belongs to Ty Cobb, which is, it was right on here somewhere, like 370 or something. But he played in an era where people hit for really high averages, but nobody hit home runs. And then, of course, we look at the steroid era where, you know, Barry Bonds had 70 home runs or 73 home runs or whatever the hell it was in a season. Like, why are Barry Bonds stats compared to Ty Cobb stats, but it's not okay to also compare them to Josh Gibson stats? So in my mind, I think this makes absolute sense, and I'm super excited. I love to see the Negro League stars being shown, you know, in these record books, because hopefully what that'll do is it'll start to raise a little bit more awareness, right? So hopefully somebody, you know, some 13-year-old kid who sees that Mike Trout is hitting 340 next year, and he's like, oh my God, I wonder what the best single season batting average is, and he looks it up and he says, oh, look, there's Ted Williams, I know that name, but who is this, what's the other name here? Hugh Duffy, or who is this Josh Gibson? And then maybe he clicks on that, and maybe he reads about him, and maybe he learns something. So that's super, super cool. I'm really, really excited about this. I think it's great. And yes, a win for equality. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all that. And the only thing that I'll say is I think you really hit it on the head, because we've seen this in all sports. Like, we look at football, like people are like,
Yeah.
oh, numbers from this. And then it's like, okay, if you're looking at like yards passing, are you really putting Matthew Stafford in the Hall of Fame because he has more passing yards than Dan Marino or Joe Montana? No, you're not. There's different times, different ages. And yes, it's fun to compare, but it's hard to compare a steroid era player to a Negro Leagues player to a dead ball era player to
Right.
XYZ, but it's good for them all to be represented. So I 100% agree with you there.
Yep. Cool. All right, I think we've got 4 more on the wheel. Is there anything you want to throw your flag and go over? I don't know what we've got left because this is really small.
We've got Oreos, we've got Texas, we've got election counting, and I think that's it. So there's
perfect.
3.
Those are garbage. We can skip all of those. All right.
This is the first time ever that you've called Oreos garbage.
Well, I mean, you want to talk about the flavored Oreos. Flavored Oreos are complete garbage. But I think, B, it's time
Random rankings.
for some random rankings.
Is.
Yeah.
I would agree. So, since it's the holiday season and we're all trying to be in a festive mood, we are going to draft our favorite Christmas songs. This draft was suggested by Emily from Twitch, so thanks for that suggestion. You suggest, we listen. We will each draft 5 songs, or as many songs as interest and time allows, and then, as a special request, we will create a Spotify playlist with those songs so you can have some holiday cheer. Now, the rules that I set to this were that we will draft the song, and once the song is gone. So if Christopher says he wants Elvis's version of Santa Baby, and I don't even know if that's a thing, Santa Baby's gone. I can't pick,
Santa
Ariana...
Baby. Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
I can't pick, the Ariana Grande version of Santa Baby or whatever that might be.
Now I want to hear what a Elvis Santa Baby would sound like. I hurry down my cruise chimney tonight. Oh,
that'd be so good. I love it.
All right, so we can't choose the same exact song. What I think might be cool, and I was going to mention this to you, it might be cool if there's one that you truly, really like, that we could mention it. And if we want to, I don't know if you want to add it to the playlist, probably not, but we can at least mention it. I mean, why not?
Okay. Yeah, because like if there's a version of the song that you pick that I like, we can do that.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing about this this random ranking is that B, I don't think really listens to Christmas music. I don't think that's his gig. Whereas I love Christmas music. So like I could put together a playlist of like 50 songs on my own, like that. So
Yeah, my wife needs to be here to do this draft for me, but she is not, so I am taking this one for the team.
I'm also trying to figure out how do I even get to Spotify? Like, oh, there's a web player. That must be it. I don't use Spotify, but I signed up just for you, loyal listeners.
Yeah, so how do we want to do this? Are we flipping a coin? Are we doing a dice? Who's going first?
Oh, that's a good point. Is Emily in the chat? We can let her pick if she's out there.
I do not see, at least
she mentioned something a little bit earlier, so she might not be on. So I'll just look for a randomizer just in case. But if she pipes up before I randomize, she gets to choose. Otherwise, I'm putting a B and a C. This is oh, there she is. Emily, do you want to choose who goes first?
Who goes first?
Or you can randomize it. I was trying to figure out how I link to a playlist. Make it public? Oh, I got to do that. Okay. You should listen to this. Cutest song ever. All right. This should be the Spotify playlist, I hope. Oh, I think Emily's a little bit delayed, so we'll give her a second.
Just building the suspense.
This is where we play the Jeopardy theme, except we would get DMC8 or something.
Well, if I hum it poorly enough, they won't care.
They won't know. Oh, Landmark, he felt bad for killing me.
It's true,
Just to be clear, we played Among Us last night and Emily got killed. Which also, for the record, Emily, if you're available tonight, it sounds like people want to play again. But let's go ahead and do our draft. If somebody wants to test that link in the chat, I would appreciate that. But B, it sounds like you get to go first.
All right, that's good because I have one Christmas song that I knew that I wanted. So the good news is I get to pick my Christmas song. So this is going to be like the most pander bear Christmas thing ever. But can you really go wrong if you pick Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You? Come on.
Yes, you can go wrong with that.
Go wrong.
I don't know how to spell Mariah Carey, so bear with me, chat. Sorry.
And we can kind of build the Spotify list too, kind of at the end, and we'll tweet that out or put that out with our pod. But that song always kind of gets me in the Christmas mood, so that's why I picked it because it's definitely one of my favorite Christmas songs.
Yeah, for sure. Why is the text not in black? Oh, it's because I have it set like that. Oh, there it is. It's super huge. All right. All I Want for Christmas, Mariah Carey. All right, there we go. All right, so I do have a list here because I took this seriously. If there's one song that has to be my number one, and this is one that ignore the ice cream flavors, they're going away. If there's one that it's hard not to choose Elvis, I'm telling you. But the one that always really makes, I sing along with all of them, but the one that really hits me and I'm singing loud and I'm excited about it, it's Bruce Springsteen singing Santa Claus is Coming to Town. That's definitely the one.
All right. That's I'm sure I've heard that one. I just didn't necessarily think about it.
Yeah, it's like he didn't put out a Christmas album as far as I know. It's like just one song. It was done live. And yeah, I love it. It's my jam.
So now my real question for you is, do I steal Elvis from you? Because I'm sure there's like 17 other Elvises. Or do I go with another one of my songs? So here's my whole thing with Christmas. Like, my wife loves Christmas music. So we listen to Christmas music a lot. But I don't always know the names of these songs or like what it is. But I just randomly find myself like humming a melody. And then I'm like, what is this song that I'm humming? So then I like have to ask her. But here is one that I do know. It is Elvis Presley, Blue Christmas. Elvis.
Oh,
I enjoy that one. It's just kind of like, it's a very short, like a very kind of, and obviously it's not like a happy song, but it's just kind of like, I love, like I do enjoy Elvis. So
how could you
enjoy, like,
not? Elvis is the king, man.
it's like you got a blue, and I can't sing too much again. No copyright
No
claims.
DMCA.
But that's one that I do like. So I want to put that one on there because I want to steal that one from you because I don't know if that was on your list, but now it is on my list.
So that Blue Christmas is always on my list, right? Because I love Elvis. But he's got two other ones, and those were two I actually took preference with. I don't know which one I really, really want, though. Like, I might have to take them both at some point. I think I'm going to go with Santa Claus is Back in Town. It's a great song. Obviously, I'm all about the Santa Claus. It's one of those, it's not a traditional song. It's an Elvis song, and he really Elvis-fies it. Yeah, it's just a great song. You should listen to it if you don't know it. Check it out. And hopefully these are on, I haven't even looked to see if these are actually on Spotify, so that would really suck.
Well, and if not, we can always do it as an Apple Music list and then do it on Apple Music.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so my next song that I have is one that I do find myself just humming, and I didn't realize that it's one that I hummed until I looked up the name of it. So it is by a person called Ella Fitzgerald, and it is called Sleigh Ride.
Yeah, Sleigh Ride is such a great song. Actually, Ella Fitzgerald. Hopefully that's right. So this is one where I would say another artist song. Sleigh Ride by Garth Brooks is potentially my favorite Christmas song, period. And it's one of those, it's upbeat and it's fun and it's exciting. It's just such a great song. But I'm almost positive it's not on Spotify, so that's why I kind of skipped over it. But yeah, that's a great song. It's Blue Christmas. We're going to add that one to the playlist. And the other one I'm not finding right away. Santa Claus is Back in Town. Okay, I can do that later. All right, we're ready for number 3. Should I do an Elvis song? I am going to do, this is a great song. It's completely different than these so far. I'm going to have one that's going to shock the shit out of everybody on here. I'm telling you, people are going to freak the fuck out. But I'm not doing that one next. Right now, we're doing Merry Christmas from the Family by Robert Earl Keen, I think? Robert Earl Keen. Yeah, this is like white trash Christmas, baby. I love it. It's great. It's amazing.
Nice. So I'm going to just keep going with my commercial radio Christmas. This is another one that I do find I sing a lot. But the funny part about it is this is a song that I first kind of became acquainted with because of the show Family Guy, because there was a Family Guy skit where Peter Griffin is doing like, da, 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 fries, they're hot, da, da. And then I was like, what? And then I realized that that's actually a Christmas song called Carol of the Bells. And there is a Mannheim Steamroller version that's pretty legit that I like. Did I lose
Nice.
everyone?
Nope, still here. That's great.
All right.
And I was able to find it really quickly on Spotify, so I'm not going to really butcher the spelling. Carol of the Bells. Mannheim Steamroller. Okay, perfect. Great. All right, so I've got 2 Santa Claus, and I got kind of a goofy Merry Christmas from the Family. We got a lot of comments in the chat that I've been missing. Do They Know It's Christmas? That is definitely a great song. That could end up on my list. It's definitely top 10. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, again, same. That could be top 10. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. It's pretty amazing. But I'm thinking I have to go with... it's so tough. There's so many I want to put on here, Chad. I might make my own Christmas playlist just for you guys. But I think I am a traditionalist, and I think I have to go with, in my mind, what is the most traditional Christmas song, the most iconic Christmas song ever, and that's White Christmas by Bing Crosby. Like, that's just,
a good one.
that's like iconic. That like screams Christmas. I think that's got to be on the list.
I would agree. That's a good one. And I think, we're doing okay here on time. We can go past 5 picks if we want. Obviously, I have a list of like 7, so once we get past 7, I'm bereft. But, we can do a little bit more. So
Okay.
I think I'm gonna throw a little bit of a. I don't know if I want to throw the curveball or if I want to. No, I'm just gonna go with my curveball.
Curveball.
We're going to keep it going because I can pick this other one later. So the curveball that I want to throw is actually a Lindsey Sterling song. So when I kept mentioning Lindsey Sterling to you this week, and you're like, I don't know who that is, this is why. So she does a lot of violin stuff, and she does a really awesome violin version of Dance of the Sugar Plum.
Ah.
I actually went to her Christmas concert last year. It was fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually really love that song. Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. All right, add that to our playlist. Except it's a single fairy, not multiple fairies. Okay. Nice. That's a really good choice, man. I like that. All right. Now it's back to me. Well, if we're gonna go a little bit past, and that opens it up. And I'm gonna put an interesting one in here. This is not traditional at all, but it's another Santa Claus song. But it's so catchy and it's weird the way the beats work. It kind of throws me off. It's just weird. And the song is called "It Must Have Been." I'm typing as I speak, so bear with me. It must have been old Santa Claus. And it is a Harry Connick Jr. song. It's a great song though. It's upbeat, it's catchy, it's swingy, it's got that jazz feel to it. It's great.
Nice. So I'm again torn because I don't know if I want to there's a couple on here I still am looking at this list and I like all of these equally at this point. So I think I'm going to go with one that I don't think you'll draft any of these though. I think there's one that I think you might draft from me just because I know you. So I think I'm going to go with that one. We are going to go with Feliz Navidad. That's just like a fun Christmas song, right? So I'm going to go with that one.
Feliz Navidad. That is a great song. So the one that came up on the Spotify is Jose Feliciano. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Feliciano. Cool. All right, I'm going to throw my big curveball out here. And I think I have to explain this one a little bit because people are going to be very confused if you know me even a little bit. This is actually a very religious song. And it's not even so, it's kind of a song, but it's kind of just like a story put to music. But it's so this is my thing with religion. I am not religious. In fact, I think religions are stupid in a lot of different ways. But I am, to a degree, I'm spiritual in a weird kind of way, and I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of that. I don't even know them all myself, but yeah, so I still kind of connect to some of the tenets of spirituality, so a higher power, etc., etc. So even though this is a very religious song, I kind of it still hits home to me because I tie it to the weird way that I kind of see spirituality. And honestly, there's not a single time I ever listen to this song and I don't bawl like a fucking baby. So this song is called "The Christmas Guest," and it's by Reba McEntire.
Okay, I've heard of it. I'm sure I've probably heard it at some point. That's a good one.
All right, let's do one more. Let's do 7 each.
Okay, 7 each. So I will not pick the one that I was going to pick them, but I will want to tell you just a short story when we're done. So for my last song, I'm honestly torn between 2 of them, but one is more of kind of like a traditional-ish song, and then the other is a traditional too, but it's been done by lots of people. So I am going to go with one of my favorite artists, Luther Vandross, has done a version of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And I love Luther's voice. I love that song. So I feel like that's one that I have to make sure that I get on this list.
All right, nice. Let me get that added here. Did you want to do one more? Do you have one more you need to throw out there or what?
The other one that I was going to throw on there was Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. Like, that's another fun one. As you can tell, I like a lot of my Christmas songs to be a little bit more upbeat and fun. And like you said, I'm not like super religious in that way, so I don't need all of the like, it's Jesus's day songs, but
Right.
you know, I like a lot of the more upbeat songs. But while you're typing that in, the other story that I was going to tell, the one song that I was thinking about putting on here was Boys to Men, Let It Snow, because
Yes.
when you're an 11-year-old boy, you listen to that song and you're like, this is a great song. And then when you're a 38-year-old man, you're like, dude, these motherfuckers talking about knocking boots because it's nasty outside. You
That
know what
is
I'm
legit.
saying?
That's pretty legit. Yeah. All right. So I added both of yours to your list, and I'll just add two more. So the first one is the Christmas song, which is potentially my favorite, like traditional Christmas song. Funny. And the version I like is by Colin Ray, who's a country singer who I've always loved. I adore his voice. So that's going to be the next one. And then I got one more to pick. I'm looking at my list. And you know what? I think I need to go with something a little bit crazy. We're going with the 12 Pains of Christmas. It's kind of a comedy song. So we're going to add that to the list just to shake it up a little bit.
That sounds fun.
So there we go. There is our list. Chat. Everyone take a look. Emily already said that Brian got her vote. It looks like Firecracker's out there too. So Firecracker, are you going to tie it up or does Brian get the win?
Ooh, drama.
Right?
So I think we all win, right? Because these are all great songs. Like, hopefully we'll have this out there. And I think hopefully this gets people into the holiday spirit because there's a lot of good music out there. So the more that we can share and the more that we can enjoy, I think that's a great thing. One that hit the floor for me, but I thought was interesting was Frank Sinatra, The Christmas Song.
Okay.
So I don't know. While we are waiting for chat to decide who is the winner, do we want to move on to our extra points this week?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do that? I'll let you go first, and then Firecracker, the list is on the screen, so you let us know who the winner is.
Awesome. So, my extra point this week, I know over these past few weeks, I have been talking about different ways to give back, different ways to contribute, different ways to do things for others this holiday season. I was listening to a podcast this week and it was kind of their Christmas episode, and they were talking about all of the things that they do with their families and all of their Christmas traditions and all of the things that they're passionate about. And one of the gentlemen said, I look at things in terms of like my love language. Gift giving and gift receiving is one of my least love languages. But one of the things that I do love is food. And one of the things that I want to do is to be able to give to others and make sure that others don't go hungry this Christmas. So I am donating to my local food pantries. I am doing lots of things for my local community and the national community to make sure that in these very difficult times for everybody, anybody and everyone who needs and wants a meal can have one. And that really struck home with me because I am that type of person, right? Like, I've been planning my Christmas dinner for 2 fucking weeks now, and I love food and I definitely live through food. And I think that, you know, I am privileged in the sense that I have never once had to worry, like, where is my next meal coming from? So, like, immediately after listening to that podcast and hearing that guy's spiel and his passion, I made sure that I went and I looked up the local Feeding America branch here in Milwaukee and I made a donation to them because that is something that is super passionate for me. I want to make sure that anyone who does have a need is able to be fed and they're able to have the sustainability that they need to make it to the next day. So that's my extra point this week because I, like a lot of people was struggling to find my place of how to help. And by listening to someone else just tell about what they're doing, I found it. And that made me feel really good. And I want to challenge you this week to try to find that way as we go into this stressful holiday season with lots of COVID stuff. And you might not be able to do everything that you want to do. And things might be hard. And there might be challenges going on in your life and change and death and everything else that might be happening. Try this week to find one thing to do that you can feel good about. It doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter how. Do one thing that you can feel good about.
Well, for the record, I like food too. So, like, am I going to get some of that food? What's going on with that?
It went to the food pantry, man.
Oh, you said you were planning your dinner.
Oh, yeah, that part.
Apparently,
I was thinking about the food pantry. I was thinking about making sure that other people are good. But yes, we're trying to figure out this dinner thing. My wife actually is not here right now because she's baking lots of cookies. So, ... Who knows?
Nice. So my extra point is going to actually tie into kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier, which is how we interact with other people, and I think it's very timely. And this time of year, it's I get sucked into the holiday spirit. I get sucked into the Christmas spirit, and like I said earlier, I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. But what I do really believe in, what I'd really dive into and sink my teeth into, is that holiday Christmas spirit of happiness and forgiveness, of love, all of those good things. I think that that's something that we should feel all year round, and I like to hope that I do that at least a vast amount of the time, but especially this time of the year. And it can be difficult. It can be difficult because there's a lot of stress that happens around the holidays. This year in particular, it's going to be extra stress. People are going to be, I'm going to be celebrating Christmas alone here in my small apartment. My family and friends are all spread apart, in different places. I'm not going to see any of them. And that sucks. Like, I spend Christmas with my parents and my siblings and all my nieces and nephews every single year. That's a big, important thing for me. And I'm not going to be able to do that this year. So this is a tough time, and it's very easy to let those types of things overwhelm us. It's very easy for us to respond in anger to some of the horrible things we see and some horrible things that are said to us and horrible things we experience. Hell, that's what a lot of this podcast ends up being, is how do we react to things. And a lot of times I'm very angry and yelling and swearing, and even B swears every now and then. But I think it's super, super important. And this goes back to, the vulnerable point where I was sharing kind of some of the stuff that I'm struggling with. But it's super, super important that we continue to lead with love. It's important that we look at situations and we respond caringly. We respond with a huge heart. And you know what? Sometimes that means that you may not, quote unquote, win. And that's a thing that I talk about a lot in this podcast and outside of this podcast. We live in a world where everything seems to be about winning. My presidential candidate won. I won that game. My team won. I got a better career, so I'm winning and you're not, whatever the case may be. And that's hard. That's hard, I think, for a lot of people to kind of come to terms with. But in the end, does it fucking matter? It really doesn't, right? As long as we're continuing to move forward, as long as we're continuing to move with positivity and move forward with love, as long as we are helping and sharing with other people, we're making the world a better place every step of the way. That's the most important thing. And it's not always easy, and I know I struggle with it, but I think that's something that we all need to really take to heart and really keep in mind over the holidays and for the entire year. So just as Brian said, there's a lot of people who are going to be struggling financially, people who aren't going to be able to eat. And if you have the ability to share and to donate with people in your local area, that's fantastic. I encourage everyone to do that. I've also made donations both in gifts and in food for people in the area, because that's something that means a lot to me. But beyond that, let's just make sure that we're continuing to lead with love. And yes, sometimes having a huge heart means that you get hurt a little bit easier and a little bit harder and a little bit deeper. But in the end, I think that the good that comes out of that far outweighs the bad. So I hope that everybody can share that love. And I just want to say thank you all for being here. Thank you for those who are watching live and in the chat room, those who watch or listen afterwards. You know what? I'm sharing love with all of you during the holiday season and throughout the year. Thank you for being here and supporting us. I know Brian, really appreciates that as well.
Definitely. And I appreciate what you're saying. And I said this to someone I was working with this week. The biggest thing that I like to tell people is it doesn't cost you anything to be kind. So hopefully that's what we can leave you with this week. So as a couple of programming notes, next week we would be recording on Christmas Day. So we will be skipping that episode. I believe that's what we decided. Yes?
Yes.
So we will not have an episode for you next week. We might pop into Twitter or do like a little quick, hey, how you doing kind of thing. But your next episode will be coming out in 2021. So we will have survived 2020, the dumpster fire.
Well, we still got it like 2 weeks, so we haven't survived yet, but hopefully we will.
I mean, that would be 2020, wouldn't it?
It would. But positive thinking, we will be here.
Yep. So to let you know where you can find us while we are on a little bit of a hiatus here, you can find me on Twitter at LandmarkMKE. You can find Christopher on Twitter at Skanzi. You can find us on Twitter as an organization at Almost Qualified Productions, AQ_PROD. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us in Skanzi's DMs. You can find us lots of places. So just hit us up. Let us know how you're doing. Hopefully you all are well. And, when we talk to you next time, hopefully the Green Bay Packers will have a bye in the playoffs. Marquez Valdez-Scantling won't have dropped any more passes. No one will have sent him death threats. One of the things, and I know I'm going long, but one of the things I wanted to send you this week is one of my podcasts was like, all right, you're throwing your child out of the second story of a burning building. Which one of these 3 wide receivers is catching him? And one of the 3 that they listed was Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
You must really not like your child.
They were like, I love my children, and of these 3, I think I have to. The funny part is they all picked MVS because they're like, well, he catches the ball sometimes.
Oh my God, who are these idiots, and why do you listen to them?
Anyway, we wanted to leave you with that laugh. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, Happy everything. Thank you from myself and from Christopher and from Old Man Wiggum, who is not here. He is our manager, and we will see you in 2021.
Peace. See you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
This is our live outtake because I totally forgot to hit the start button on the sound.